Hi! Today I'm going to continue my probability course and talk about some basic concepts. So, today we're going to cover experiments, sample spaces, events, and a little bit of how to write in math. Because a lot of probability is translating what you want to talk about with your friends, like, oh, I think there's a 50% chance of something happening, to math language, which is easier to do complex things with that you can't really talk about with your friends so easily. All right, so let's begin with experiments. What is an experiment in the probability world? Well, it's some event, something that happens that has an uncertain outcome. Here's an example. What will the weather be tomorrow? In this case, the experiment is tomorrow's weather. Seems simple enough, right? Can you give an example to me as well? Here's one more, just for good measure. The winner, the presidential election, is another event with an uncertain outcome. We're not sure who's going to win. We'll find out sometime, but not right now. Okay, continuing on, let's talk about sample spaces. So, the sample space of an experiment is all the possible outcomes of an experiment. Okay? So, what are the outcomes from flipping a coin? Well, you get a heads or a tails. The sample space, then, of flipping a coin is heads or tails. Pretty straightforward, right? It's just anything that could happen. So the sample space of the presidential election would be all the presidential candidates. Makes sense, right? Or anyone, I guess, if you're writing your name down as a write-in candidate. Okay, continuing on, let's talk about events. An event is a list of none, one, or more, up to all of the possible outcomes in the sample space. Wait, what? None? Yep. You're going to use a symbol, a 0, with a little slash through the middle to represent nothing happening. But what's the probability that we have no weather tomorrow or that nobody wins the presidential election? It's 0. Yes, but nothing happening is still an event. It's a little bit weird and confusing, but it'll make sense later on when we talk about more of probability in math language terms. Okay, let's go back to our favorite example. Now, we know that the outcomes from flipping a coin are heads or tails. So one event is getting tails. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about writing in math language. A lot of probability is translating something that makes sense in your head into something we can work with in math. It's not always so straightforward, but if you pay attention to a couple particular rules and you practice a little bit, you'll get the hang of it. So the first one's not too hard. We use brackets and commas to write out sample spaces and events. So, well, there we go. Exactly what we said before, right? Except now everything is surrounded by brackets. And in between two different events, we have a comma. Makes sense, right? Yeah. Now let's practice a little bit. Okay. Describe the event rolling an even number after rolling a die. Well, getting an even roll is an event, but let's think about what are all the different outcomes after we roll a die, right? We can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Now all the even ones are 2, 4, and 6, which are 3 different things, but remember, an event is a list of 1 or more possible outcomes, right? So there are 3 outcomes here, but 1 event. Make sense? Yeah. Now, let's try another one. Describe the event getting a number larger than 4 after rolling a die. Well, what are the outcomes that would make that event happen? Well, you can get a 5 when you roll, or you can get a 6 when you roll. So those are the 2 outcomes that make up the event list. And that's it for today's lesson. Please be sure to tune in to figure out what's happening tomorrow as I continue with this course. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone.